Alright, so hey everyone, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, as the thumbnail suggests, we are going to implement some Redis like features from scratch in Rust. So before jumping directly into the implementation, let's quickly understand what we all are going to implement. So these are the features that Redis provides, like basic features like setting an key value pair, fetching it, deleting it, and implementing a TTL variable, that is time to live, a kind of expiry for each variable that we set. So we are going to implement these features. It's a basic simple feature, but this way we will have the idea how really we can use Rust to implement all these features. So what all features do we need to implement? We need to implement get, set, delete, and a special function or a keyword or a functionality called TTL, time to live. So whenever we set an key, so what we do is we will also pass an TTL variable, that is we will denote it by exp, and this will be in seconds. So after these seconds passed, this key that we have stored will get eliminated. So we will have two variations of it. One will be with the TTL and another one will be default, as long as we are not cleaning forcefully or not deleting the key without any TTL variable. So we will implement these 4 commands, and these are the two things that we need as a dependency, that is Tokio and tokio-macros. So first of all, let's add these dependency in our project. Then we will quickly figure out what project structure do we need to keep. So yeah, let's do one thing. So let's open this file first, because we need to make a change over here. Let's add this dependency Tokio and tokio-macros. So these two dependency has been added, as you can see. Let's do one change over here. We'll do this. All right, let's do a quick build. All right, build succeed. So let's discuss what all structure that we are going to use. As you can see, this will be our project. What we'll do is we'll have src over here, and inside that we'll have our command parser. So let's say we are passing these commands from the terminal. So we need a command parser that will parse these keys so that they will be sent to the appropriate handler. So we will have something called this. We will also create a database folder as well. Here we will have our in-memory data structure that we will use to store these keys. Thirdly, we will create a folder for server as well. So instead of doing all these things in main file, we'll create a separate server folder inside which we have a file. We will create this maybe we can create a function called start server over here, and we will call this function from our main file. So as you can see, it's a simple structure, nothing much over here. So let's quickly implement these functions. So we'll start by creating some folders over here. So let's create database. We have a mode.rs over here. Let's implement a command parser. We'll name it command, and let's implement server folder. Now let's fetch all these things over here. Server and database, right? So let's start implementing these things. So for that we need a Tokio macro, a main procedural macro. So we need to make this function async, and what we'll do is we create an address variable over here, and we can okay, so we can say server will start at this. All right, we'll call our server function from here. We can say start server. So for that we will go inside our server file. We can start implementing. For now we will simply say, let's call it create server, and what it does is it will take an address that will be a string slice. And so we need a listener over here, right? So let's say let listener. So we need a TCP listener from Tokio. We'll use bind. We'll pass address over here, and we can do this. Now what we need to do is we need all our variables like db variables, and we can create like a loop kind of thing over here that will like accept multiple asynchronous connections. So I think we should implement first these files as well, like database and command parser, because this server file depends on these. So instead we directly implement everything over here. Let's implement our dependencies first, right? So maybe I can comment this and simply let's start implementing our database first. So what we need over here is we can do something, we can create a struct over here. So let's call it database, and we need two variables over here, that is db and expiry. I'll explain all these things once implemented. So what we'll do is we'll use an arc smart pointer, and we'll use this from Tokio, this function, reader writer lock, and hash map will be used inside it, right? And for db it will be this, and for expiry we'll follow the same, but we will have a little bit of change there because it's an expiry hash map. We'll use it to store the values that have a expiry, that has a expiry variable. So we need an instant over here, so we'll use this from Tokyo. And let's start expanding our implementation, and let's just implement a new function that return this, and we will have a database. So what we do is log new and hash map new. The same will follow for this thing, this expiry. Okay, let's yank it, paste it. All right, so we have this, let's rename it to expiry. All right, so we have a new implementation over here. Let's implement, let me outline few things first. So what all we are going to implement, we'll use get, and we'll use delete, and we'll also use is expired, right? So it will return a bool. For now we will return a hard code false, the same way for this as well. So this get function, we will return a option of string from here, right? Because let's say if the thing key is expired, so we are going to return none as well, right? So that is why I have created a separate is expired function, because we need to check that whether a key is expired or not, as long as it has a TTL variable. So we will have a get method here as well. So we'll also have a get method. Okay, let's implement our, okay, so we have already have a get method, so we have our set thing over here, right? Okay, so now let's implement our get method. So we'll have this, we'll have a key, it will return option of string. So now what we do is we will check whether the thing is expired or not. So we'll do if self dot is expired, it will take a key, and if it's expired we'll return none, and we'll delete this thing. We'll call this function as well, self dot delete with a key and await, right? If the thing is not expired, what we are going to do is we will fetch the key from the db and return it. So what we'll do is we will we'll get the read log from it, from the rw log. Let's call it db map. So self dot db dot read, right? And we'll return db map dot get key dot what does it return? It return option of t, right? So we'll do this. So it says that str, what happened? It says no method name is expired is written. Let's do this thing, self, and we have a key, that is this, the same way for this as well, self and key, that is a string slice. All right, now we have this thing. So it says cannot move out of self, which is behind a shared reference. let's do this thing is expired because it will take, I think this will do. Okay, so we have our get implemented. Let's implement these functions is expired and delete. So currently they are returning a hard-coded false value. Let's implement this thing is expired. So here we need to figure out if the key is expired or not. For that we need to check that whether the current instance is greater than the expire time or not, right? So and that expiry time has been already inside this expiry hash map, right, this instant. So we're gonna do that. So what we'll do, we'll say if let's say some expiry time equals maybe first of all let the read log from it, let exp map self dot expiry dot read, right. So what we'll do is exp map dot get this key. So let's check, will return is, do we return is, we need an instant now. So we'll check whether it's greater than this exp time, this instant, because it's a reference. So let me just use this, and otherwise it will return false. Okay, does that make sense? So self dot expiry, we have took the read log and we extracted expiry time. Now we validated whether the current instance is greater than expiry time or not. If it's greater than, we will return true and it will kind of expired. That means the value that we are getting is already expired, and will return none. If not, it will return false, then we will get the value from the db hash map. So now let's implement this delete. So delete will simply implement it will simply delete these things. So what we'll do is let's fetch the write log db map equals self dot db dot write dot wait. Let's copy this thing, and so we need something over here called expiry, and we'll name it expiry map, or let's say exp map. And now what we'll do, first of all we will exp map dot remove this key, right? And another thing that we do is db map dot remove key dot is sum. So this will return a bool value if the option is a sum value, right? So this way this satisfies this return value. All right, we need to make them mutable. Awesome. All right, so we have a delete function ready, we have is expired. Let's implement this set function. Let me yank it off from this to top. So what all we have in set, what all parameter that we can have on set? First of all, self, a key that will be of type string, a value that will be of type string, and a time to live parameter that will be optional because we can have it or not, right? We can either pass it from the terminal or we cannot. So and the time variable will be of u64 because we are going to maintain it from that instance variable of the Tokyo, right? So what we are going to do is, as soon as we call this function, so first of all let's do this, dbmat is equal to self dot db dot, we need to insert it on this db hash map. So we'll do a simple entry, db map dot insert, we have key and a value, right? We did that, but I think we are going to need that key because let's say we encountered a TTL variable, then we need to insert it in expiry map as well. So we have to make it a clone. I'm not sure, let's see. Okay, we have to do this mutable. All right, now we only need to validate one case only. So if it has a like this TTL value variable, so let's say if it has some TTL, maybe second, let's call it this TTL. So what we are going to do is this, as soon as we encounter this thing, we need to insert in expiries, but we need to first calculate the time, right? So the time will be calculated is, we need to add that second at the current instance that we are, right? So that will be the expiry time. So let's call it exp time, And what we are going to do is let's do this instant dot now, and we will make an addition of need to fetch this from instant. Let's say duration, it is inside time. I was thinking of doing it from here. Let's call it duration. So we need to do duration from, okay, from seconds. It will take us this variable, right? So we have calculated our time, that will be the expiry time, because we need to add those seconds in the current instance. So as soon as it hit this line, the expiry will be calculated from that instance. And now we need mutable lock for write lock for expiry. So exp map, that is self dot expiry dot write await, and we will simply use exp map dot insert. We need a key, and value will be an instant, right? So we need to do what, exp time. Yes, I think so. All right, so we have all this implementation in place. Delete is expired, get and set, and this new, right? Now let's implement our command parser that will parse the command for us. So let's start creating this thing. Let's call it command parser. What it will do is it will take a reference to db. This is our database, and what does it do? It will return a result type of this. Anything else? Yes, it will take a command. That is the important thing. How can we forget that? It will take a command. Whatever we pass, right, it will be a string slice. All right, so now let's fetch these parts first. So let's say splitted command, that will be a vector of string slice, and it will be a command dot split white spaces. And yep, so we have saved this thing. Now it is saying, let's do this cargo build. It says found. Okay, let's perform some matches over here. So match splitted command dot slice, and let's figure out few things. Let's do this first, exhaustive case, and we will return a result type from here. Let's say unknown command to string. All right, let's do this. So we have, let's imagine we are encountering this set. We have a key, we have a value, and we have this variable as well, exp, and a TTL value in seconds. So we can do this. Let's me copy this, because we can have a value command without a TTL value, right? So we are going to do is we'll delete this thing from here. So this is our second case, and rest of them are easy, like get and delete. So let's copy those as well, right? So let's do delete, and we'll remove these value because we will only use key in that. And get, let's delete this thing. All right, so basically these four cases that we need to handle. Let's implement functionality on this. So before implementing these things, let me just show you one more thing. So we will follow a response type of something called, so it's these are Redis protocol, maybe protocol, what do we say, serialization protocol. So yeah, so these things make like parsing very easy. So we will follow this format. So let's say if we return a success, then we will return something like this, plus okay slash r and slash n. So it's not necessary, but if we are trying to replicate this thing, then why don't we do this as well? This only makes parsing easier on the client side. So this is kind of a communication between a client and a server. So you can completely omit this out, but I will do that. So all right, anyways, let's follow this. So in case we receive a success, we set a value, we'll return something like this. All right, in case we have an error, we'll return something like this. So we can do this as well over here, err slash r slash, right? So we can do that. All right, so it will be something like that. Yeah, let's do this. So let's figure out what we need to do inside this case, where we will have an expiry value, expiry variable. So let's first parse it to a time variable, a second u64, then we will pass it to db that we have instance, right? So we will pass it to the set function. So what we'll do is we'll say let ttl equals this ttl dot parse. Instead of doing this, we can go for u64, and we can do expect, let's say we'll say invalid time to live value, right? And we'll quickly do this thing, db dot set. What we'll do, we'll pass key, we'll pass value, and we'll pass a ttl variable over here. And once we do this, we'll return this. Okay, what format do we have here? We have this thing, right? Let's copy this and paste this over here. Are we good? We have this thing, incorrect, and found str. All right, key and a value. Do we need to do a toString over here? Yes, we need to do a toString because it's a string slice. We need to make it in a string, and we have some problem here as well because we are passing this thing. So we'll do something like this. Okay, and mismatch type, we need a string over here, right? So we are going to do dot toString. All right, so we are done with this function. So let's implement this for this as well. So here this case is for if we are like, if we don't have any ttl variable. So what we'll do is we'll simply db dot, we'll use this set, we'll use key dot toString and a value dot toString, and we'll pass none from here, right? So we'll do this. We'll again, let me just yank this from here. All right, I think okay, so two case we have handled. That is one with the ttl variable, and the second one is not having any time to live variables. So let's implement this get function. For that, we have a key. So what we are going to do, we need to check over here first few things. So let's say the value we received, db dot get key dot await else. So if we don't get anything, what we'll do is we'll say, let me just check what is the format. Let's implement this thing first. For okay, I think for okay it's so we can do this, and yep, you know what, instead of like, because we need to return in string, right? So we can use this over here, and the value that we are receiving, we'll return length and the value. Does that make sense? I think so. So we can quickly find this. If we didn't find anything, what we'll do, we'll simply use this format. We can do because we are not having any value over here, so we can directly use toString on that. We don't need to format this. All right, so we have get over here. Now let's implement the same thing to delete. So the same thing goes like what's that? All right, it's already saved. Let's implement this delete over here as well. So what we'll do is we can check if db dot delete key else. If it's deleted, then it's simple. What we are going to do is slash r slash n. What the hell? I'm not sure if this is the format. I need to validate it as well. And if it's else, then we can show this. Sorry, slash r slash n. All right, mismatch type found future. Okay, future tb dot set. All right, so we have all our, let me just quickly go through. We have set with these two variation, one with the ttl, one with not, a get and delete, and an exhaustive case. All right, so I think we have our command parser in place, we have our database in place, and we have all these features right here, right? Set, get is expired, delete, and a new. Okay, so I think we are ready for our server implementation. Let's quickly go over here. Let's do this, and let's create a db instance database. Let's do this. So we have our listener and our database. So what we'll do is we'll create a loop over here, and inside this we will accept all our incoming connection, and we will create a clone of this database, right? Yeah, so let's do that. What we'll do is we'll accept our incoming connections asynchronously. Okay, so that's fine. We will accept our incoming connections over here. All right, now let's quickly fetch these variables. So we'll do is let's make it this listener dot accept. What happened accept dot await unwrap listener. Why don't it showing? Okay, let's save it. All right, so we have our this thing. Let's clone this thing. Let db is equal to db dot clone. Now few things, clone is not found in this thing. Why? Cargo b. So it says no method found, like clone, right? Method not found. I think database, go inside it. Do we need to use this? Are we good now? Yes, we are. All right. What we'll do next is we'll spawn a thread for each incoming connection, and inside that spawn function of that thread will keep on listening to each input. So let's say a new connection comes in, a new thread will be assigned, and that will listen for the command that he will enter from the terminal, and move it to the appropriate handler, right? So what we'll do is we can do spawn, right? So let's say thread.spawn and tokio, yeah, we'll use this. So what we'll do is we'll do something like this, and we'll fetch a reader and a writer from socket dot into split. So what it says is it will split a tcp stream into read half and a write half, which can be used to read and write the stream concurrently, right? So I think we will need this. Okay, so we have a writer here as well. So we need to write this to the user back, right? So we need to make it mutable. So now this reader will read the from the buffer, right? So what we'll do is let reader. So isn't it? Let me just check. Buff reader, new reader. So consider using a semicolon here. Okay, now that we have created our reader, let me just create this thing as well. So now we need to read until we hit any empty line or something like that, right? So we'll do is while reader dot read line await dot unwrap is greater than 0. This, so but it accepts mutable reference to buffer, right? So we have this thing. Okay, so let's add a response over here that we will send back to the connected client. So it will be command parser. It takes db, and inside this we will use buffer. We will trim it, and we'll wait for the response, and we will unwrap or else unwrap. Okay, so it takes a compute set from closure. So let's say this it will take a string. So we need to have a format over here. Let's copy this thing. All right, let's paste this here. We can pass e. Let's do this, save it. Okay, so now let's do one thing. We have response over here. So now let me just do this first. So we cannot borrow reader as mutable. Anyways, let's do this thing. Writer dot write all. So we have a response dot as bytes await unwrap, and let's clear the buffer. So reader cannot say reader is mutable, so let's do this then. All right, create server function is never used, this say. So this function, what it does is it will create a function, spawn a thread for each connection, and each connection will then listen to the terminal and hand it over to this command parser function that will try to send it to appropriate handler. Let me just remove this. Okay, so it says is never used. We'll use this in this thing. So what was the name? Start server. So create server. We'll pass a slice add dot await. Let's save this. Put a semicolon over here. All right, let's do a build. Okay, so build is successful. All right, now to test it, let's do one thing. We'll simply run it, cargo run, and from the other, okay, what is this? So result.nrep address already in use. Let's do this as well. Okay, so let me just copy this. Okay, let's do a cargo run over here. Cargo run. Okay, though server has started listening on this 7635. So what we'll do is we'll open telnet and we'll try to connect it from telnet. And what is the port over here? It says 7635. So 7635. So as you can see, the server that we have created and that was running on this, we were able to connect this through telnet. So now let's test out few of our functionality. Let's say I'm going to implement set. A key name is, let's say, Vipin, and the value that I'll save is this. And yeah, let's say for now save this simple value. Okay, so the response returned okay. So now what if I want to fetch this value? So I'll use get, I'll use a key value. So you see that I'm getting a length as well as the value that I have set it, right? So what if I want to delete it with a key? So I will use delete TTL VIPIN. See, it is deleted. What if again I want to fetch this thing, get, let's see what I get. I get nothing because that already has been deleted. Okay, now let's test out our expiry TTL variable thing. So I will use set Vipin and I will use this exp variable. Let's say I want to leave it to 7 seconds. So I will use 7. Now I will fetch it, get pin. See, I'm getting it. I'm waiting for this 7 seconds to pass. You see, after 7 seconds it automatically get deleted, right? So as I entered this value set Vipin and this value over here with the key Vipin and an expiry variable TTL variable, as soon as the 7 seconds pass, it automatically get cleaned up. So it has an expiry variable as well, so it gets automatically deleted. Now let me just quickly close this connection. So you can see our error also is working. So if I do nothing and hit enter, then it gets matched to this case. Like, please try again if I do this again. Okay, so now I'm doing a control C and the connection has been closed. Let me exit this and close this. So guys, there you have it, this small features of Redis, like get and set the value. For an improvement, what you can do is first of all we can make an clear logging using some crate that will do logging for us. And secondly, what we can do is we can implement some pubs of functionality that do a real-time chatting as well. So we can keep on like enhancing this code. So but as long as our basic functionality like setting up and deleting up and fetching the key value pair that we have stored in our in-memory data structure is working fine. As an improvement, what we can do is we can make this a file based as well. So after some time, what we can do, as soon as a time pass, what you can do is you can fetch the values out of the db hash map that we have created. Let me just show you, and you can store that in a file. So each time this program start, it will fetch the values from that file or to a database, right? So currently it's in memory data structure, this thing, right? So but you can do as an enhancement, you can also use a file based system or a database system for persistence. Yeah, so that's it. These are the basic features that Redis has, like storing a key value pair as an in-memory thing. So yeah, so that's it for today's video, and see you on the next one. Have a good day.